Hello and welcome to another episode of Daily Reflections. Pastor Sean coming to you from my front porch here at the house. It is a beautiful, beautiful half and half day. Half of the sky is clear and sunshiny. The other half is dark and cloudy. It has rained off and on all day, and so Sky and I have been dodging rainstorms today as we ran errands and different things like that. Pastor Patrick stopped by and spent a couple of minutes with us, and he's the same way. He was on his way back from town, and I saw him on the side of the road, and the rain was just, you could tell the rain was coming right at us hard and heavy, and I called him. I thought he was broke down, and he was trying to get something out of the bed of his truck into the back seat of his truck, but he was dodging the weather and the rain and everything as well. And so it's been a beautiful day off and on, and it's been a rainy day, and we can always use the rain. So here we are today talking a little bit about everything. I want to talk to you about yesterday. Yesterday was a good day. We had folks in the sanctuary, of course. We had about 40%. We're still holding right there, about 40% of our congregation. We had about 40% of the folks in the sanctuary. And then we had a couple of folks out in drive-in church. And then several of you watched online as you do every Sunday. So with that said, we are still targeting the first Sunday in June as our Get Back to Church Sunday. June the 7th, 14th, and 21st, we have different things going on. June the 7th will be our target date to get back to church and get everything kind of back to normal, back to a regular routine of going to church. And the holidays will be over. Summer will be started. June the 14th is Father's Day. And then June the 21st will be our graduation recognition day, where we recognize our two high school graduates, Riley Bennett and Charlie Cameron. And we'll be recognizing both of those girls and their accomplishments. And Pastor Patrick and Sister Sharon will have a program put together, and then we'll present them with a gift from the church and different things like that. You'll be able to give them cards and letters or cash donations, whatever you want to do during that time. And that'll all be available to you over the next couple of weeks after the first 2 weeks of June leading up to the 21st. Yesterday I talked about David and him training his soldiers to be ambidextrous and how they had to do something they had never done before. They had to do something that they had never tried before, and they had to change their method of ministry. And how we had talked about over the last few weeks, over the last several weeks, 6-7 weeks, we've had to adapt ourselves and change the way that we do ministry in this COVID-19 crisis. But now the crisis doesn't make us who we are. The crisis doesn't define us by any stretch of the imagination. I heard this pastor the other night saying that the crisis doesn't define us. But what the crisis does do for us is it shows up the character of the person that you're listening to, the person that you're following, the person that you are engaged with. Their character comes out during the crisis. The Bible tells us that tribulation works patience. And all of those things rise to the top when crisis comes along. And now you may look at this crisis and go, you know what, nothing really good came out of it. I can't say that. I can say that a lot of good things came out of this crisis. We learned how to do online videos like this. We had to learn how to do online Bible studies and online church and all of the different things that we connected with online. And we had an audience there that we really didn't know existed. And you are part of that audience. You're part of that group that we are ministering to in a special way and a unique way. And we had to switch hands. We had to go from fighting with our right hand to fighting with our left hand. We had to change, as the old saying is, we had to change horses in midstream. But it was a good thing. It was a positive thing because tribulation brings out character. Tribulation works patience, and that patience gives us clear sight of what God has us doing. And so during this time of tribulation, during this time of crisis, some good things have come to the surface and some bad things have come to the surface. We figured out where we were short at on several different issues with our online ministry. We figured out where we were falling short at on a lot of different things, and we were able to take those when they rose to the surface, clean them off, throw them aside, and look back for a pure, clean ministry. And so many times we get tied up in we're so terrified of this crisis. We're so scared of what's going on, and the world is coming to an end and all of that stuff that's not really, it's not really true, but we get mixed up in all of the craziness and we forget to look for the good stuff. What have you done during this crisis that has been different than anything else you've ever done? What is it that you are doing that you would not have done had you not had all this downtime? I have been reading. My goodness, I've been reading a tremendous amount of reading over the last couple of weeks. And the other day, I got a text message from a teacher friend of mine, and I had left a book that I was reading in her classroom when I was subbing for her, and I was going to be on an extended sub there at the school, and I just accidentally walked out and left the book at her desk. And when she went back to clean up her desk, she found the book, found a receipt inside of there, figured out it was me, and brought me the book back, and I dove right back into the book. I dove right back into it and picked right up where I left off at. I'd been looking all over the house for that book, but I picked right up from that because I have the time. I've spent a lot more time with Sky. Sky and I have spent a lot more time together. Shelby and I have spent a lot more time together. Stephanie works every day, and we see each other on about the same amount of time as we normally do, but my relationship with Shelby and with Sky has increased because of this downtime. So what are you doing? What's improved in your life? What has changed for the positive in your life? Have you had more family members around? Have you been able to talk to people? Have you been able to read? Have you been able to pray? Have you been able to jump into a new hobby? All of that is because of this crisis. I got two friends of mine that are both school teachers, and the three of us have been playing a little golf. And all three of us have worked on our golf game during this COVID-19 crisis. We would not have been able to had this crisis not come along. We wouldn't have had the time to spend together. We wouldn't have had the time to play golf together. We wouldn't have been able to do any of that because life, as it was happening, would not have allowed us to have that downtime and to have that free time. So don't look at the negative. Don't look at the dark clouds. Look at the silver lining. Look at what God has done in your life through this crisis and give Him praise for that. Yes, He's brought you through the storm. Yes, this crisis is close to passing. Yes, we are at the end of the tunnel and we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train coming back at us. It is the light of day, and we're getting through this situation. Georgia is much better off than they were 2 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. We're starting to see the clear. And now, as life begins to get back to normal, or some stage of normalcy, the new normal, we're going to look back and say, hey, God did this for me during the crisis that would not have happened had there not been a crisis. Those are going to be the most precious moments. Those are going to be the most precious memories. The blessings that God has poured on you are going to rise to the top, and you're going to be able to see what God has done during this entire crisis. You will see the hand of God. As Joseph said in the book of Genesis, Joseph said, what the enemy meant for bad, God meant for good, so that I could save all of your lives. What the enemy meant for bad, God meant for good. So look for the silver lining. Figure out what it is that you've been able to do. Like I said, you may have picked up a new book and read it. You may have picked up a new hobby and have been working on it. You may have just got to spend some time in your garden. Our garden is fabulous right now because we've had so much time to spend on it. It's just been amazing what we've been able to do with this time, and we've not wasted the time. That's the beauty of it. We've not wasted the time. So what is it that God has done? What is it that God has allowed you to do? Let's take the time this week to thank Him for that. Let's take the time this week to be grateful for what God has done during this crisis to increase and empower and embetter your life. I don't know if embetter is a word. Improve. There we go. To improve, empower your life. Coming from my front porch, this is Pastor Sean with another episode of Daily Reflections. If you like it, give me a thumbs up on the YouTube page. Give me a like and a share on the Facebook page. I'll be back with you tomorrow, this same time. Hopefully, the weather will be a little better. Praying for you. I love you. God bless you as always is my prayer.